Imagine exploring a medieval town perched on a cliff, frozen in time after nature declared war on humanity. Envision stepping into a railway station so grand they called it the Titanic of the mountains, now silent except for the wind through broken windows. These aren't scenes from a horror movie. They're real places scattered across Western Europe, where history's darkest moments and nature's most devastating forces have left behind some of the most haunting locations on Earth. Today I'm taking you on a journey through 5 abandoned places that will challenge everything you think you know about how quickly civilization can crumble. From a French village preserved as a memorial to Nazi atrocities, to a Spanish railway station where spies once traded secrets, these locations hold stories that will stay with you long after this video ends. If you're drawn to history's darkest chapters and the mysteries they leave behind, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible true stories, and ring the notification bell. Let's explore Western Europe's most haunting abandoned places. Number 5. Doel, Belgium, the village that refused to die. Our journey begins in Belgium, where one of Europe's most unusual ghost towns sits in the shadow of massive industrial expansion. This is Doel, a village that became the unlikely symbol of David versus Goliath, where 19 determined residents waged a 24-year legal battle against one of Europe's largest ports. Doel's story stretches back to 1262, but its modern tragedy began in 1965 when the Port of Antwerp announced expansion plans. What started as discussions about progress gradually became an existential threat to an entire community. By 1995, the pressure intensified. Authorities wanted Doel completely cleared to make way for container terminals and industrial facilities. But here's where Doel's story becomes extraordinary. Instead of quietly accepting their fate like so many other communities, the residents of Doel fought back. They organized protests, filed lawsuits, and turned their battle into an international cause célèbre. Their village became a canvas for street artists from around the world, who covered abandoned buildings with stunning murals that turned Doel into an unlikely art destination. The contrast is surreal. Pristine graffiti art decorating crumbling houses, historic windmills standing guard over empty streets, and the constant rumble of massive cargo ships passing just meters away. Doel became a place where past and future collided in the most visual way possible. The legal battle finally ended in 2022 with a compromise that allows the remaining 19 residents to coexist with port expansion. But walking through Doel today feels like exploring a place caught between worlds. Part ghost town, part art gallery, part symbol of resistance against unstoppable industrial progress. Number 4. Canfranc International Railway Station, Spain. The Titanic of the mountains. High in the Spanish Pyrenees sits one of the most magnificent abandoned buildings in Europe. A railway station so grand and luxurious that it earned the nickname the Titanic of the mountains. And like the Titanic, Canfranc Station's story is one of incredible ambition, brought low by a single, devastating moment. Built in 1928, Canfranc was designed to be the jewel of international rail travel, connecting France and Spain through one of Europe's most challenging mountain ranges. The Art Deco masterpiece stretched nearly 300 meters long, featured ornate halls, luxury waiting rooms, and platforms that could handle the most sophisticated trains of the era. During World War II, Canfranc became something far more sinister than a railway station. It became a hub for espionage and smuggling. Nazi gold passed through its platforms, resistance fighters used it as an escape route, and spies from multiple nations treated its grand halls like a real-life version of Casablanca. But Canfranc's fate was sealed by a single event in 1970. A train derailment on the French side destroyed a crucial bridge, and rather than repair it, French authorities decided the route was no longer economically viable. Overnight, this magnificent international hub became a dead end. For decades, Canfranc sat abandoned, its vast halls echoing with only the sound of wind and the occasional tourist brave enough to make the mountain journey. Weeds grew through the platform cracks, rain leaked through the ornate ceiling, and this monument to human engineering slowly surrendered to the harsh mountain environment. Recent years have brought hope. EU funding and Spanish government investment aim to restore Canfranc's international connections. But until that happens, it remains one of Europe's most spectacular ruins, a testament to how quickly even the grandest human achievements can become footnotes in history. Number 3. Belitz-Heilstätten, Germany, where history's darkest figures healed. Deep in the forests outside Berlin lies one of Germany's most haunting abandoned complexes. Belitz-Heilstätten, a sprawling medical facility where some of history's most notorious figures once walked the halls as patients. Built in 1898 as a sanatorium for treating tuberculosis, Belitz-Heilstätten was designed as a self-contained city of healing. The complex featured 60 buildings spread across 200 hectares, with its own power plant, kitchens, and even a railway station. The architecture was revolutionary for its time, pavilion-style buildings that maximized fresh air and sunlight, the key treatments for tuberculosis in the pre-antibiotic era. But Bielitz's claim to fame comes from its most infamous patients. In 1916, a young Austrian corporal named Adolf Hitler was treated here for a leg wound sustained during World War I. Decades later, East German leader Erich Honecker would also receive treatment within these walls. The complex served as a Nazi military hospital during World War II, witness to both healing and horror. After 1945, the Soviet Army took over Bielitz, transforming it into one of the largest military hospitals outside the Soviet Union. For nearly 50 years, it operated in complete secrecy, treating Soviet soldiers and their families while remaining completely off-limits to German civilians. When the Soviets withdrew in 1994, they left behind a time capsule of Cold War medicine. Operating theaters still contained Soviet-era equipment, patient records scattered the floors in Cyrillic script, and propaganda murals decorated walls alongside German medical charts. Today, parts of Bielitz have been restored and reopened as rehabilitation centers, but vast sections remain abandoned. The complex has become a favorite of urban explorers, photographers, and filmmakers. Roman Polanski used it as a location for The Pianist, and its eerie corridors have appeared in countless horror films. Walking through Bielitz's abandoned sections is like traveling through layers of history. German efficiency, Nazi ideology, Soviet secrecy, and modern decay, all visible in the same crumbling walls. Number 2. Krakow, Italy. The medieval town that nature conquered. Perched dramatically on a 400-meter cliff in southern Italy, Krakow looks like something from a medieval fantasy. But this isn't a movie set. It's a real town with over 1,000 years of history, now standing as one of Europe's most perfectly preserved ghost towns. Krakow's story begins in 540 BC as a Greek settlement, but its golden age came during the medieval period. By 1060 AD, it had grown into a thriving hilltop town, its strategic position making it valuable to various rulers throughout the centuries. The town survived plague outbreaks, bandit attacks, and political upheavals that swept across southern Italy. In the 19th century, Krakow faced a different kind of challenge. Local brigand Carmine Krakow used the surrounding hills as his base, turning the area into a battleground between outlaws and authorities. But the town endured, and by the early 20th century, Krakow housed over 2,000 residents in its stone houses and ancient churches. The beginning of the end came with massive immigration to America between 1892 and 1922. Like many southern Italian towns, Krakow lost much of its population to the promise of better opportunities overseas. But the final blow came from nature itself. In 1963, landslides began threatening the town's foundation. The same hilltop position that had protected Krakow for centuries now worked against it. Geological surveys revealed that the medieval town was literally sliding down the mountain. By 1972, flooding had worsened the situation, and the 1980 earthquake sealed Krakow's fate. The government ordered complete evacuation, and by 1980, Krakow was officially abandoned. But unlike many ghost towns that crumble into ruin, Krakow has been remarkably preserved. The dry climate and remote location have kept the stone buildings largely intact. Hollywood discovered Krakow's haunting beauty, using it as a filming location for The Passion of the Christ, Quantum of Solace, and numerous other productions. Its medieval architecture and genuinely eerie atmosphere make it the perfect backdrop for stories requiring authentic ancient settings. Today, guided tours allow visitors to walk Krakow's narrow streets while wearing hard hats, a reminder that the town remains dangerous. The Krakow Society, formed in 2007, works to preserve both the physical site and the cultural memory of this extraordinary place. Number 1. Oradour-sur-Glane, France. The village frozen in horror. At the top of our list stands perhaps the most emotionally devastating abandoned place in Europe, Oradour-sur-Glane, France. This isn't just a ghost town. It's a preserved crime scene, a memorial to one of World War II's most horrific massacres, and a place where time literally stopped at the moment evil arrived. On June 10, 1944, Oradour-sur-Glane was a peaceful village of 648 residents in the Limousin region of central France. It was a Saturday market day, and the village was bustling with normal life. Children playing, families shopping, people going about their daily routines with no idea that they were living their final hours. At 2 p.m., the Waffen-SS division Das Reich, led by Adolf Diekmann, surrounded the village. What happened next remains one of the most brutal and senseless massacres in European history. The soldiers separated the men from the women and children, then systematically murdered everyone. 642 people died that day, including 205 children. The SS troops didn't stop at murder. They burned down every building, destroyed every car, and attempted to erase Oradour-sur-Glane from existence. Only a handful of people survived to tell the world what had happened in this quiet French village. After the war, French President Charles de Gaulle made a decision that would preserve Oradour-sur-Glane forever. Rather than rebuild, he ordered the ruins to be maintained exactly as the SS had left them. The destroyed village would serve as a permanent memorial to the victims and a warning to future generations. Walking through Oradour-sur-Glane today is one of the most powerful and disturbing experiences in Europe. Rusted cars still sit where they were burned, their skeletal frames testimony to interrupted lives. The church where women and children were murdered still stands, its walls blackened by fire. Personal belongings, sewing machines, bicycles, children's toys, remain scattered throughout the ruins. What makes Oradour-sur-Glane particularly haunting is how ordinary everything looks. This wasn't a military target or strategic location. It was just a normal village where normal people lived normal lives until evil decided to make a stop. The preserved ruins serve multiple purposes. They honor the memory of those who died, they educate visitors about the horrors of war and hatred, and they stand as a permanent reminder that civilization is far more fragile than we like to believe. These 5 abandoned places represent different chapters in Western Europe's complex history, from medieval resilience to modern industrial expansion, from wartime horror to Cold War secrecy, and from natural disasters to human evil. What connects these locations isn't just their abandonment, but the stories they tell about human nature. Doel shows us that sometimes small communities can resist powerful forces. Canfranc reminds us that even the grandest projects can be undone by single moments. Belitz reveals how places can serve different masters while maintaining their essential character. Creco teaches us that sometimes nature wins, no matter how long humans have called a place home. And Oradour-sur-Glane forces us to confront the darkest capabilities of human beings. These places matter because they preserve memories that might otherwise be forgotten. They serve as classrooms where we can learn about resilience, tragedy, ambition, and loss. They remind us that everything we build, everything we love, and everything we take for granted is temporary. But perhaps most importantly, these abandoned places force us to ask difficult questions. How do we remember the past without being trapped by it? How do we honor tragedy without being consumed by it? How do we preserve history while still moving forward? The answers aren't easy, but places like these give us the opportunity to wrestle with them. They're not just tourist destinations or photo opportunities. They're mirrors reflecting our own humanity, our own mortality, and our own responsibility to remember. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Western Europe's most haunting abandoned places. If this exploration of forgotten history moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the places time left behind. And let me know in the comments, which of these locations affected you the most? What other abandoned places would you like to see us explore? Until next time, remember that the most important stories are often found in the places everyone else has forgotten.